And there's more breaking news coming in now. Ukrainian President Zelensky has now said he plans to speak with US President Donald Trump on Wednesday to get more details about his call with his Russian leader counterpart Vladimir Putin. Zelensky is going to be speaking to Donald Trump to get an idea about what the call was about. A call and a conversation that went extremely successful yesterday, in which US President Donald Trump, his Russian counterpart, spoke for over 2 hours during a phone call, discussing ways to end the ongoing war in Ukraine and ways to establish a lasting peace. Viewers, the Kremlin's full statement also came out on Trump-Putin call. The leaders continued and had a detailed and frank exchange on views on the situation around Ukraine. Vladimir Putin also expressed gratitude to Donald Trump for his desire to help achieve the goal of ending hostilities and human losses. Having confirmed his commitment to a peaceful resolution, the Russian president declared his readiness to work together with his American partners to explore possible ways of resolving the conflict, which could be long-term. All this is now going to be stated. Let me go across to Krithart, joining us live from the newsroom. Krithart, very clearly Zelensky is also now waiting to get in a certain detail from Trump on what could lie for him and what is it that he will have to give, because there are going to be serious risks also associated and things that are wanted from him by Putin that will also have to be given.
Indeed, and this is extremely crucial after the nearly 2-hour-long phone call conversation that took place between President Putin of Russia and President Trump last evening. In fact, this is more minutes of conversation between the two presidents than Zelensky had while he was in Washington at the White House. This shows the seriousness of the two sides, and now they are going to engage in further dialogue in the Middle East, particularly in Saudi Arabia, which is the epicenter of all these negotiations at the moment. President Zelensky, who is at present in Helsinki, Finland, is having a conversation with the Finnish President and Prime Minister, and Finland as a country has stood by Ukraine. And speaking at a conference while with the President of Finland alongside himself, Zelensky said that he is ready to make concessions for a lasting peace. However, the red line is going to be ceding any Ukrainian territory which is temporarily occupied by Russians permanently to Russia. So again, Ukraine and Zelensky making a tough statement on ceding any land, particularly talking about the Luhansk and Donetsk provinces, which are at present under Russian control ever since the war began in 2022. And he is already putting up demands saying that he is not ready or willing to have any concessions on giving away this land. We remember Marco Rubio, the Secretary of the State, had already said earlier, and in fact the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth of the United States had also said that going back to pre-2014 borders for Ukraine is not a possibility. So clearly it is not a thing that is on the negotiation table as far as US and Russia are concerned. In fact, it was not even brought up in the call yesterday as far as our understanding is based on the reports that have come from Washington. So again, Zelensky trying to play the devil's advocate, at the same time trying to play a spoiled sport, but also wants in on the negotiations table. It will be largely remains to be seen on whether Trump in fact indulges him and has a discussion on him, or whether he gives a full brief of what was the conversation about between the US and the Russian governments regarding this entire ceasefire that both sides are negotiating at the moment. But clearly Ukraine has no seat at the table. Neither did they have it in Saudi Arabia last month, when the top diplomats from both sides, along with the National Security Advisor and Putin's spokesperson, met in Saudi Arabia to have those high-level talks. And clearly on yesterday's phone call also, Zelensky now remaining an afterthought, and him coming out from front and saying that he will dial Trump and he wants to have a conversation. So clearly Ukraine feeling left out and wants to know the insight on what is the negotiation all about. Back to the studio.
Well, it also remains to be seen how Zelensky is going to take it, but Zelensky has brought it on himself with the kind of decisions he's taken. Thank you, Krithart, for giving us those details.